Hello again, everybody, and welcome inside the International Training and Research Center in Arlington, Texas. This is BowlTV Live. I'm Matt Lawson, and this is a show where every couple of weeks we get together, we talk a little bit about some of the programs that are going on here at the International Bowling Campus, introduce you to some of the people who make them happen, and of course we're going to get you coached up a little bit as well. Carolyn Dorin-Ballard will be in here in a little bit to give you some coaching tips, and we want your feedback, so get those questions in. If you're watching us on, hopefully you're watching us on our YouTube channel on BowlTV Live, and that is simply youtube.com/BowlTV. We hope you're a subscriber. We're also USBC on Facebook and Twitter, which is where most of the questions seem to be coming in. We'll get to those in just a little bit. We're talking about sport bowling first, though. A great challenge for bowlers out there, a chance to bowl on the same conditions that the pros are dealing with every week when you see them out there on Sundays. Take a look as we show you a little bit about the program. Looking for a way to fill those empty lanes and attract avid bowlers to your center? PBA Experience Leagues can deliver on both counts. Your bowlers can play on the same conditions as the pros, improving their game and preparing them for competition like no other program.
It's a good approximation of what you see on the tour and what you see on Sunday. There's times when we hit it pretty good on Sundays, and there's times when we struggle, and most people will do the same in those experience leagues. You'll find some things that work for you, you'll get better, that will help you in tournaments around the country and in league as well.
They watch on TV and that we bowl 2.5 and 2.12, and they say, oh, I could do that. I do that every week. I bowl 2.20, 2.30. But they're not bowling on what we bowl on, and in the environment we're bowling on.
It's also a chance to attract new customers with unique league formats. And at the same time, increase the frequency of the customers you already have. 83% of USBC Sport Bowling members bowl in multiple leagues, meaning they'll come in more often as they challenge themselves to get better.
I wish I had that when I was even, bowling junior events. We bowled house shots a lot. So it took a lot longer for me to develop, and a lot of the people from my generation, we just bowled house shots. So the opportunity can't be missed by everyone out there.
Well, I think everybody needs to take a chance at a PBA Experience League. To get better at anything, you have to challenge yourself a little bit, and the PBA Experience Leagues over time have evolved into a very good challenge. They're fair, less room for error, there's more of a premium put on shot making and adjusting.
Bring the PBA experience to your center. Please visit bowl.com/sportbowling to get started. Boost to the website there.
I like
That's
it.
a little
Very
something.
good.
Joined by Erik Vermilyea. He is our sport bowling czar. Manager, that's fine too. Here to talk a little about it. We touched on it obviously in the video, but what are the benefits of sport bowling? Why sport bowling?
Well, there's several benefits. The first thing is with your sport bowling membership, there is the upgraded awards program, the unique membership card, industry partner coupons to several of the major players in the industry. Nice deal there. And some unique members-only videos on the website. But the main benefit is getting to bowl on these patterns. They're more challenging. They're going to kind of place a higher premium on shot making and reward that. You'll get to see what a good difference between a good shot and a bad shot. You get to play different parts of the lane and really work on your game.
As this program moves along, as it grows, who are the people that you see taking advantage of it?
Well, that's kind of the funny part. Initially, we always expected just a higher-end bowler to be our main sport bowling bowler. But what we're finding is it's just the serious bowler. That could be a beginning bowler that's really serious in their game, they're working on it. It could be the 180 average bowler that just likes a unique challenge, or it could be that high-end tournament bowler.
A lot of leagues obviously getting underway this time of year, but still some time. Is this a good time to be looking into sport bowling?
This is actually a great time. A lot of our sport bowling leagues actually, they're mostly shorter season leagues. They start up after your normal league will start up. So they're 12 to 16 weeks, and you should actually start looking for them in your center roughly right around now.
The questions are starting to come in, and we're going to get to a couple of them in a second. Kevin here wants to know how to bowl on heavier oil, and I think we can help immediately because we have a series of videos actually where we break down the animal patterns, the 5 animal patterns from the PBA for the PBA Experience Leagues. We're going to show one of them to you here. You can find all of them on youtube.com/BowlTV. But here's the first one for the shark pattern, so check it out. The shark pattern is a 43-foot-long medium-volume pattern. Due to the shape of this pattern, the outside part of the lane is almost entirely out of play. We'll get to that later. Also, you'll want to use medium aggressive bowling balls with a little bit of surface, something around 2,000 Abralon or so, depending on your style. Due to the medium volume of this pattern, too much surface or too little surface could spell disaster. We'll start today with Kristen, who has a classic stroker type game. She'll play this pattern in the track area of the lane between second and third arrow. Straighter type players will have to go very direct on this pattern, and if they open up the lane at all, they will be unsuccessful. Using an aggressive ball with a little bit of surface and controlling her ball speed are going to be Kristen's best options on the Shark. Next, we'll move on to Mike, who has more of a tweener type style. He's able to get a little more ball reaction on this pattern, but still has to play the lanes very straight from just inside the track area of the lane. Ball choice will be key for Mike on the Shark pattern. A ball too strong or with too much surface will hook early, not react in the back part of the lane, causing splits and washouts. Also flat 10s and 7s if he does hit the pocket. Using an aggressive ball with just a little bit of surface is Mike's best option to score on this challenging oil pattern. Now we'll show you James, who is our left-handed bowler. James is a stroker type lefty and will give us a little different look on this always challenging Shark oil pattern. Generally on the Shark, lefties will be a little further out on the lane and a little more direct due to there being less play on that side of the lane. James will be playing somewhere around the second arrow, again using an aggressive ball with a little bit of surface. James's keys to success will be to keep the ball very direct at the head pin and his ball speed low. Getting quick or swinging the ball will be trouble quickly. And finally, we'll move on to Erik, who's our higher rev player. This pattern can be very challenging for higher rev or power players when this pattern is fresh. However, since this is not a high volume pattern, it'll break down quickly, and higher rev players should see better ball reaction from deep inside on the lane. Erik will start on this pattern with a strong bowling ball with quite a bit of surface to help the ball read the lane on this longer pattern, and he'll be closer to fourth arrow to start. He'll be opening up the lane the most of all of the styles, but still has to be careful to keep his ball speed soft and not overhit the ball. The more you hook the ball on this pattern, the more trouble you can get into. We will also use Erik to demonstrate the extreme danger that lurks on the outside part of the lane on the Shark oil pattern. In this first shot, he hits the 7 board at the arrows and does strike. However, as you'll see in the next shot, he'll hit 6 board at the arrows, just a 1 board miss, and will barely keep the ball on the lane. This is why the outside part of the lane is not recommended on this pattern. For more information on how to play this pattern, or for more information on PBA Experience Leagues, please visit us at bowl.com/sportbowling. So there you have it, and a man not afraid to use himself as a guinea pig. So you throwing a few in there. We've explained obviously that these patterns are different than what they see every day at a local center, a typical house pattern. But why is it different? What is it that makes it different?
Quite a few different reasons. As we saw on that one, that Shark pattern is 43 feet long. That's going to be 2 to 3, maybe 4 feet longer than your typical house shot. And they go all the way down to Cheetah, which is only 35 feet long, which is going to be drastically shorter than most house shots. So that's the first difference. The other difference is the side-to-side amount of oil. On a typical house shot, you have very little oil outside of the second arrow on either side. On these sport patterns, you don't have that. The oil is applied very evenly across the whole lane. Gives you a lot less room for error and a lot bigger premium on shot making.
Yeah, and we obviously, like we said, we have these videos available for all of the different patterns, but we've got some questions coming in, and Walter wants to know if you can give him a sneak preview. Where should he be playing on the Cheetah pattern?
All right, Cheetah is, again, one of the extreme patterns. The Cheetah and the Shark are on both drastic ends of the spectrum. Cheetah, the main idea is to throw a kind of an early rolling ball with a little bit of surface, and try to play as close to the outside part of the lane as you can, right up 2, 3, 4 board if you can, or just kind of wherever you're comfortable as far as it's on the outside part of the lane. And the straighter you can roll the ball, usually the better off you're going to be.
All right, one more question. It's a tricky one from Louie, who wants to know, how do I practice for a sport condition if I don't have a sport condition to practice on, Grasshopper?
It sounds like an odd question. I've actually heard it quite a bit, because it is hard to find a sport pattern to practice on if your center doesn't put them out.
Sure.
The easiest thing I can tell you to do is simply practice things you wouldn't normally practice. I mean, if you've got a plastic ball for spares, throw your plastic ball for a strike shot. If your typical line on a house shot's between second and third arrow, try playing out by the first arrow. Try playing the 5th or 6th arrow. Just try doing things that you wouldn't ordinarily do, and try to strike doing them.
All right, and keep those questions coming in. Carolyn Dorin-Ballard is going to be here in just a minute. First, though, we want to get to the tip of the day. It's time for a little bit of coaching. Brian O'Keefe from right here in the International Training and Research Center with the tip of the day on loft and how to do it and how it can help you. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Brian O'Keefe, assistant coach for Team USA as well as the facility manager here at the International Training and Research Center. Today we're going to talk to you about loft. Now we're not necessarily talking about some of the lofts that you see on tour like Oscar Palermo throwing the ball over a bar stool or anything that drastic. We're just talking about increasing your loft by a foot or two. What we like to promote here inside the training center is that you don't always want to make your adjustments from left to right. Sometimes the best adjustments is making the ball either hook sooner or hook later. Loft in this case will make the ball hook a little bit later on the lane and change your angle into the pins. Here we have Kim helping us out, and her normal release, she tends to get the ball in the lane relatively early, and for the pattern that she's bowling on here, you can see it tends to hook a little bit too soon and go high on the head pin. Now we have Kim just lofting the ball an extra foot or so out on the lane. Now we're not talking about drastic amounts, and sometimes it can be hard to see with the naked eye, but you can see the difference that it makes in terms of ball motion. It pushes farther down the lane, gets to the break point, and then turns its way into the pocket. So as you can see, a little bit of loft goes a long way when determining when the ball is going to hook on the lane. So remember, we want to use our lower body, stay nice and stable, and really just release the ball from a little bit higher point on the lane. It's not necessarily about using more upper body, it's just about keeping that lower body stable and releasing it a little higher.
So obviously loft can be a little bit of a tricky one. Carolyn Dorin-Ballard here with us now to talk a little more about it. You see people think that to loft it, they've got to do it with their arm and they got to really throw it out there, but that's not it at all.
No, it's like in anything. Bowling, you want to be nice and loose, swing from the shoulder. You know, the less upper body movement, the more consistent you're going to be in all aspects of the game. And loft is a really essential tool. So when you're practicing, you know, do your normal game, and if you don't loft it, make sure you get some practice time in there, because actually what it can do is really help you to get that reaction on the back end that you're looking for.
How about some questions? Are you ready?
Sure.
Let's see what we have. Cody Russell wants to know how he can stay consistent. Having trouble with keeping anything consistent, it sounds like he's struggling. Help him out.
Well, you want to be consistent. What I would do is practice, practice, practice. I am a big proponent of that, always have been. So what you do is the next time you go to practice, pick 2 things you want to work on. So if you feel like you're not being consistent, try to have somebody watch you to find out what that is. Is it your timing? Is it you're not getting out of the ball clean enough every time? Are you not making spares? Pick 2 things and work on that during your practice session. And then the next time you go to practice, pick 2 other things. Don't overload yourself though, and honestly, practice really does make perfect, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but give yourself some credit.
I've got 2 viewers with sort of the same question, and you've got the right person here to answer it. Patty King and Dylan Wolf wondering where they can find a professional coach, one for themselves, one for their teenage daughter. Where do you go to find the best coaches?
Oh my God, typical question. Let me guess, she doesn't want to listen to mom and dad because they know nothing, right? I did the same thing. You know, I didn't want to listen to my dad, and he was my very first coach. Go to bowl.com, and you can go to find a coach. Type in your zip code or your city, hit click, you know, click the enter button there, and it'll give you all the certified coaches in your area. It will also provide you with their contact information, and at times they even provide you with the bowling center where they're located. But it is a great tool for bowl.com that not a lot of people utilize. So you can find a bowling center on there, find a coach, find an association. So make sure you check out bowl.com.
Anthony's had some injuries. Anthony wants to know what he can be doing before he steps on the lane to loosen up and make sure that he's ready to go and not in a position to hurt himself some more.
Well, we're very lucky to have Nick Bohannon, who is the trainer for Team USA. And once again, bowl.com, great place to go to find out how Team USA trains and warms up before they get into international competition. But there's some really easy stretches that you can do. First is, no matter whether you're right or left-handed, you want to make sure that you stretch out that upper area, that upper shoulder area. We want it to be nice and loose. Real easy one too, stand still, just some shoulder arm rolls like this. And don't forget, this is the biggest one, especially when, you know, you're a little bit older like me, 28. You want to start running in place. Get those legs going, get that body pump, and get it ready for you to start your approach or your practice session.
Okay, Rachel wants to know what's better, a 4-step or a 5-step approach. Now I know you teach both, and maybe it's not necessarily a factor of which is better, but how about we explain what the difference is and what you might use them for?
Well, I think the easiest thing to explain is it's a personal preference. There are people that are much more comfortable and get more in time with 4 steps, and vice versa with 5. I'm going to take myself as the example. I have tried for many years to go back to 4 steps when my timing gets a little off. I really do not do it well. I have a lot of trouble with it for some reason. So what I have done is stay with 5 steps, but make that first step, that little starter step, a little shorter. 5 steps gives me more ball speed. My feet tend to go a little bit faster, and for my game, being a lower rev rate player, I need a little more ball speed, and with faster feet and 5 steps, I'm able to do that naturally and not use my upper body.
Okay, great. Carlos says he has a problem with yanking the ball, and he's been told to slow down his feet, and then he was told to speed up his feet, and he's confused, and he's asking the professional for advice.
Well, I can give you, a little bit of advice, but once again, I think you should seek out a certified coach in your area, or maybe your bowling center has a certified coach there that can watch you. There's nothing better than getting videotaped, so you can actually see what's happening. There are a lot of times you think you're doing something, and then you see it on video, and you're like, oh gosh, I'm really doing that, and I'm not doing this. So, you're saying slow feed, and you're saying your arm's not keeping up. It's really hard. I like, with the modern game, with the balls being so powerful and hooking so much, I like faster feet. I like you to keep your feet moving, so I would go back to what you used to do with your feet. Keep that speed the same, and make sure that if you're 4-step, that you're getting the ball moving with that first step and in a nice fluid motion. You're not pushing it way out there and following after it. If you're 5 steps, make sure you're waiting through your first step and do the same thing, because 5 steps just has a starter step. It's a 4-step with that little step in the beginning.
Okay, last one. We've got kind of 3 questions, but they all kind of come together. Ray and Edward are having trouble with their 10 pins. They say that the ball keeps hooking at the last minute and they can't keep it straight enough. Pat Hart wants to know if a spare ball will help when you're throwing spares. So maybe these things all kind of go together.
Well, I'm a big proponent with spare. Yeah, I mean, we go back and forth about a lot of this. There are people that love the spare ball, the plastic ball. It takes the lane out of play, and you don't have to worry about what pattern is down on the lane. The ball will not hook. Not only that, what it does is it makes it more consistent for where you stand on the approach. To shoot my 10 pin, I stand on 32 all the time, and I look at 18. I never have to move, doesn't matter what bowling center I'm in or what pattern I'm bowling on. So I really like the spare ball because it goes straighter, takes the lane out of play, and I can be more consistent with where I stand. If you want to use your strike ball, you're going to really have to practice going up the back of the ball. And what we mean by that is flattening out your hand a little bit more and making sure that when you come through it to shoot at that spare, it's more like palm to the ceiling. You don't want to come around it. That's why it's hooking just that little bit at the end. You're probably still coming around it just a little bit, and that's creating that hook on the back. So just be a little bit more up the back of it, flatten it out.
And we definitely want to thank all of the Facebook friends who got on here. We've got a lot of questions. I think maybe this might be a record for questions today. It's great coming in. And one of the things we asked earlier for some of you on Facebook, we'll ask Carolyn now, what is your favorite ball of all time? We've gotten a lot of responses on this, and you should get on Facebook, give us your response as well, and maybe we'll see who the winner was. But where would you come down on this?
Well, I would be a liar if I didn't say my first and most memorable ball of all time would be the Turbo X.
First love.
My first love, the Turbo X. I won my first title, my first singles title with the Turbo X, and I had a lot of success with it, and I had a great career out on tour. At the time, I was with Ebonite, and they created some great equipment. Today, I'm happy to say that my favorite ball of all time is the Shatter, and that's I'm a member of the Rotogrip staff, and I got to tell you, it's nice to be able to throw a ball down the lane, and it hooks back this much, and I don't have to do anything to it.
Perfect. So there you go. And again, we really like to find out your answer to that question. You can get it on our Facebook page, USBC on Facebook. Hope you like us. Hope you're participating. And thanks again for everybody who got on there and gave us questions. Thanks to Erik Vermilyea. Thanks to Carolyn Dorin-Ballard and Lucas Wiseman behind the scenes like a champion back there pushing all the buttons. So that's it for this week. We hope to see you again next time, 2 weeks from today. Take care.